Today's topic is actually an early teaching from my teacher when he was first in this country, kind of advice on people's meditation practice. If we have a meditation practice that is strong, the metaphor or parallel he would use was that of a three-legged stool. He said, yeah, if you have a three-legged stool and one leg is short or broken, this stool just doesn't work. It just doesn't function. And he'd say, oh, your meditation practice is also like that. There are three important components in a meditation practice that need to be balanced or equally strong. If one is missing, again, the practice is a little off kilter. This was incredibly important to him because his whole reason for teaching us is that we meditate, we see our true nature. If we can see our true nature, then we're able to see the truth. When we can see the truth that we're in, moment by moment, then we're able to function in our life. And the word he would use was have a correct life. And correct isn't like a right or wrong life. Correct is a clarity that comes out of the situation we're in. So it's a combination of the thing we're in and the thing that's participating. So a little bit nebulous. When the life is correct, then it can become wisdom. And this world needs wisdom more than anything else. So, and this waking up is also impermanent, which is why we cultivate a practice so we can wake up and then we lose track of that. Or our situation changes, or our minds change, our conditions change, we get older, we get weaker maybe, it's not as strong. So then we continue to practice under new conditions, and then we wake up under new conditions. And especially when we're young, you know, there could be a lot of questions and a lot of energy of how ambitious to be, how not ambitious to be, how to navigate a life without causing harm, but how to take care of the obligations we have. And then how do we, you know, take care of these big things like the environment in our country, etc. And then also, how do we take care of these very intimate and close things like clarity in our own heart or authenticity in our own life, or there being kind of a through line of clarity from our very core to, you know, how we take care of the postman or the person at the grocery store. So practice can do that. And it's pretty universal. Like many kinds of practice will achieve the same clarity, and people can wake up. One of my teachers likes to say, there's only one thing to do, which is attain what a human being is, but there are many ways to do it. So that's a little bit this approach. The other thing is karma. This comes to mind for me because of recent events. So my teacher would describe karma like a big river or wave. So there's this great big wave of time passing, and all the people in that part of the wave are sharing karma. So this is like, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015, 2026. So that's the whole world karma. Whole world karma being shared. Then inside that wave is a medium-sized wave. That's country karma. So all the people in Ethiopia are sharing that karma through that period of time. All the people in Russia sharing that karma through that period of time. Everybody in the United States. You follow? So then inside the medium-sized wave, there's a smaller wave. That's all the people in California. So they're sharing that karma. It's not the same as whole country karma, right? But still many, many, many people, same causes and conditions. You know, like right now, we have very warm weather. We have warm weather karma. But the people in Maine, Vermont, and New York, they have cold weather karma. That's not our karma, right? So also, causes and conditions shared. Then inside the state size is city size karma. And also family size karma. So these are very, very tiny waves, but all in the same period of time. So we all have causes and conditions, which is karma, influencing us all together, and then also in smaller scale. So seeing our karma, seeing what's influencing us, and our relationship to it is really valuable and important. Because if we don't see our karma, then we can't change it or become free of it. The last thing we can do with karma as well is transform it and then use it. So there's a lot of steps. First, see karma, then attain karma, then transform karma, then use karma. So any kind of situation, let's say you're in a family and a family member gets very, very sick. So one family member is very, very sick, the other 5 are healthy. So only one person has sick karma. So they have one kind of job appearing because of bad health. But the rest of the family has another kind of job appearing because of good health. So everybody can find their way when they can see their karma. But if a healthy family member's going, oh, I might get sick too, I'm so worried about becoming sick, what'll I do if I get sick? Now they're so busy, afraid of something, they cannot help the sick family member. So that's their fear, which is their karma that they're generating, controlling how they act, how they think, how they feel. So they don't experience freedom. Maybe some other family member goes, oh, my family member's sick, no problem, I'll help. What do you need? I'll take you to the doctor. So that second family member is just, oh, what's the situation? What's my relationship to it? What's my function? With the first example, the person's controlled by their thinking and their feeling. No judgment, it's just the condition. And so their condition will control them. Then that second example, that person also has conditions. You know, maybe they're busy or they have obligations, but they see, oh, I have this family member, so my job is to help. So that's why we practice, is to see our karma and attain it and then use it. So these 3 legs on this stool, in Zen we call them great faith, great courage, and great question. And sometimes great question is translated as great doubt, but great question is a little more accurate, yeah? So, great faith. In Buddhism, some teachers might describe this differently, but in Zen Buddhism, we don't have faith in any idea, we don't have faith in Buddha, we don't have faith in the teachings of the Buddha, we don't even have faith in the practice, we have faith in ourselves. And for me, I think, you know, when I was 33 or so, when I met this teacher and heard this teaching, that might have been the first time I was told to have faith in myself. Because I had mostly been told I didn't know anything and I shouldn't trust myself. So that's a real change, right? And the metaphor Sansanim would use, I casually call my teacher, it's like a hen who has a clutch of eggs. And she knows for 21 days or so, she has to keep these eggs warm for chicks to appear. So she has faith in her ability to take care of these eggs, keep them warm, turn them, Maybe go away for a few minutes, maybe see her friends, get something to eat, but come back fast. Because if she does not, these eggs don't hatch and the chicks actually die. So this hen has complete faith in herself, a very simple mind, very straightforward. I just stay put, I just do this. I turn these eggs and take care of the situation. So none of her I, my, me mind appears, just her faith in hatching these eggs. So for me, this was a good metaphor. I mean, I'd sometimes sit a one-day retreat and I'd pretend to be a hen. I go, just stay here, Tim, just stay, look at the floor. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. Our minds can be very, very complicated, but faith in ourselves is required to determine why we're doing this. Yeah? So that's great faith in Buddhism. It's in ourselves. Great courage, I often characterize it as wholeheartedness in practice. To be willing to let your body, your heart, and your mind just give it a go. Just give it a shot, like that. And it can be easy. Sansanim would use the metaphor of a cat. He would say cats have great courage, and then he would describe a cat's ability to concentrate. If a cat sees a mouse and the mouse runs into a hole in the wall, the cat sits outside of that hole half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, completely still, only looking at the mouse hole. And the mouse is in there, and after a few hours thinks, oh, the cat's got to be gone. And I'm hungry, so out comes the mouse, and boom, the cat catches the mouse. He calls that courage. We would call it concentration. So courage and concentration actually are very, very close. The other example he'd use is if kids are playing with a cat and they throw it up in the air, this cat will go, 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 all different directions, always land on its feet. Always. Human beings, that's not possible. You know, if a human being's on a trampoline and then up they go, they cannot control so much how to land. Much more complicated. But cat consciousness, cat concentration, cat courage, always on their feet. So courage in our practice is like that. It's a wholehearted willingness to just concentrate and not be distracted. Oh, I'm kind of bored with this retreat, or yeah, we get that thought appears, we just don't follow it. Maybe we get impatient, maybe we get a little hungry, maybe we remember something from 2 months ago or a fight we had 2 years ago. Then we just, oh, come back, come back. It takes courage to concentrate because you're looking into something you don't understand. You know, we understand the fight, you know, we understand the job we lost or the job we got, but what is this thing? What is this thing, you know, that's even giving the talk? So, great faith, great courage, and the last is great question. If we think we know, that thinking has obscured our direct experience. If we welcome in, don't know, then we become more intimate with whatever experience we're in. And if we're with other people, if we're in a social setting or if we're at work, if we can keep a question, what is this? Rather than an assumption, we suddenly see everything much more clearly. So when we're meditating, we keep this question, what am I? One style. Another style is clear mind, clear mind, clear mind, don't know. And another style is, what is this? So these are just different ways to phrase the same question. And our practice is not to fill in the answer. Our practice is to reside in the question. And that's a little unpleasant, especially in the beginning. Because all our lives we've been trained to answer questions. We've been trained, understanding will take away our suffering. But understanding actually doesn't take away our suffering, because understanding relies on thinking, and don't know relies on our true nature. So our true nature is completely unchanging, not affected by karma, not affected by time and space, never was born, so never dies. This is the thing we're getting a sense of. This is the thing we're trying to notice. And just in the same way that the hen just stays and stays and stays and has this faith, in the same way that water drips on a rock over and over and over, and then suddenly, well, not suddenly, but over a long period of time, there's a hole in the rock. There's a bowl shape, yeah? When we're able to practice with that kind of consistency, then, this is what being a human being is. It becomes very clear. We never forget. We see our substance. And even if the seeing of the substance disappears, because it's an impermanent experience, but what we're seeing into is not impermanent. So there's this faith that we can succeed at this. It takes a fair amount of courage to make a kind of concentrated effort and to trust concentration. And concentration we're all quite familiar with, especially if we went to school and we had to do a lot of reading. There's a fair amount of concentration in reading a book. There's a fair amount of concentration in giving a talk or being at a dinner party. Watching a movie takes a fair amount of concentration. But in all those examples, we're doing something. We're participating, and there's a lot of stimulation going in every direction. When we're meditating, we're practicing having concentration and not doing anything. The Chinese expression is doing, not doing. And don't worry, you can relax, and it'll just occur. And if you're like me, you'll see the impulse, to do, the impulse to think, the impulse to ruminate, to explore nostalgia. We just come back, keep the concentration strong to this present moment and everything coming in our senses right now. So great faith, great courage, great question. Now, if any of these get too strong and the others are weak, it also goes a little haywire. Let's say you have a really big question. Maybe you've had some trauma or some tragedy, or maybe you're just a temperament and a mind, a big, big question. Without much courage and without much faith, that consciousness ends up anywhere. My teacher would say, you never know where you're going to appear. Beijing, Paris, New York, San Francisco. Because it's completely wide. And it can appear anywhere. So if there isn't concentration to balance it, and there isn't faith to balance it, then a big questioning mind all by itself is too much. Yeah? Then courage. There are some people with a temperament with a lot of courage, but not a very big question, and maybe not much faith. Then a lot of energy, but without the faith and the question, a little bit like bull in a china shop, emotionally, socially, at work. So, I have all this energy. I want to attain my true nature, but not faith in this true nature and not keeping a question. The energy just gets out of control. And then if our faith in ourselves is not strong, we actually don't have a direction or a vow. And this gets a little intangible, but as we look inside what is a human being, it sets a direction of compassion and wisdom naturally, The question, don't know, causes wisdom and compassion to appear. So a person does that a little bit, meditating, or with their family, or in their social setting. Then they practice it, and they practice it. That direction becomes a vow. And that vow changes almost everything they do in their lives. And they can use that vow to know their direction. However, if it's just the vow without courage and without a great question, then the direction does not become clear. Because all of these things are spontaneously arising, and they're unique to each person in here, they're unique to each person online. There isn't a rule, because we each have unique karma. We each have unique conditions. But this practice shows us what those unique conditions are, what our relationship to those conditions are, and then how to use them first to help ourselves, and then to help this world. So that's the main point for today's class, these 3 approaches to practice, so that we have a nice sturdy stool or a nice sturdy practice to hold us up. We can rely on it. I want to open it up for questions or complaints or editorials. And on any topic, doesn't have to be on the talk.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said that understanding doesn't bring peace, but like don't know does. What about like understanding of emptiness? Like understanding that everything is impermanent and like just thinking about that in every situation.
So I heard the first part, understanding doesn't help, don't know does, and then you said something about emptiness? Understanding emptiness?
That's also kind of intellectual, right? But it
Correct.
would help to like.
What was the last word?
But I feel like that would help.
It does help a little. Yeah. So his question was, does understanding emptiness help? Because I had said understanding doesn't help. So understanding emptiness is the realm of the intellect. And the Buddha taught intellectual ideas. And in the Heart Sutra, it says, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. That's a completely intellectual teaching. It may not make sense to us, and we may not quite know what the Buddha is talking about or what Avalokiteshvara is talking about, but that is intellectual. A little bit later in the sutra it says, no form, no emptiness. That is our true nature. That's a direct experience of our absolute nature. So all thinking has fallen away. There's no opposites in that part of the teaching. So that's before thinking and feeling have appeared. So that before thinking mind, your before thinking mind, yours, my before thinking mind, are all the same. They're not separate. They're also not separate from the sky or the tree or the ground. So that's our true nature. That's our substance. Did you hear that? Yeah. You can see it. So that's our true nature functioning. We see clearly, hear clearly, smell, taste, touch. That's the direct experience of truth. So, but if I put language to that, like form or emptiness, then I've made a mistake. So my teacher would say, don't use any words when you're teaching that point. Just hit the floor with the stick. Everybody will hear that. Everybody will know that. It's a demonstration of our true nature, of the emptiness of all form. But it's taking form to do it. No problem, because no language. So rooted in that, we can have true freedom. Rooted in no form, no emptiness is all thinking. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I was just thinking about your earlier talk where you said like to look at Donald Trump like your stick, where looking deeply into the causes and conditions, and I feel like that's a pretty intellectual thing to like look past somebody and try to see the things that make them up.
It is a very intellectual approach. If I don't understand my own nature, then I can't see into his. So the questioner said, I had mentioned in an earlier talk, to look at Donald Trump deeply rather than just on the surface, and to look deeply at the causes and conditions that have brought this event to us. The way out is in, to quote Thich Nhat Hanh. So by looking deeply at ourselves in a practice that's supported with faith, courage, and a question, we'll discover something here, and we'll know it's inside of Donald Trump. It's buried and conditioned and not available, but it's there. He knows when the flash goes off on the camera. He knows when the mic is on. So, our true nature is as wide as the sky. It has two qualities. It's clear like a mirror, and it's clear like space. So it completely reflects clearly. If our true nature is covered up with a lot of thinking, feeling, agendas, fear, trauma, everything you can think of, if that's smudging and fogging the mirror, then our experience is not so clear. But if we let go of all of that, then instantly our experience becomes clear. Another question? Yeah.
How do you recommend we rebalance the three-legged stool?
Excuse me, my phone is ringing and it's going off in my hearing aids. And I thought it was turned off. So I can't hear anything except the ringing of the phone. Why won't this stop? I don't know how to turn it off. Your question again.
Yeah, I was just curious because you had mentioned certain parts when you are more emphasizing one of the three-legged stool. How do you know when to rebalance, or how does one go about rebalancing so you are constantly in harmony with those three legs?
Yeah, we don't know, but what happens is we suffer. So then when the suffering appears, we just look at what's the quality of the suffering? And then we know, then we could use that to feel our way into the shift, to correcting it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something we think of ahead of time. Yeah, we just try. The try mind, Sansani would always say, is our true nature. So, this was a gorgeous day today, and everybody here didn't go out and enjoy it. You tried coming here. That's your true nature. It's really close. It's not far away. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. That was a good question. Anybody online with a question? Oh, great. I see two. Let me.
How does your great question, like always questioning what you think you know, how does that support having faith in yourself? Because I feel like the great question is always questioning what we really know and to be true, but then having faith in yourself is like having this confidence that you know what's right.
Yeah, you're phrasing a really important question. First, it takes a great deal of self-confidence to let in the teaching of no self. It's just a built-in contradiction. To your question, I have faith in myself because I'm confident of what I know. And tell me if I'm repeating it correctly. And if I have a great question about what I know, how can I be confident? Okay. Yeah. So, our experience is unknowable, actually, because we don't know what's going to happen next. 4 days ago, we didn't know we'd be at war with a couple of countries. And even personally, if we have a car accident, a day before that, we didn't know it. So the worldview of what we know is actually illusory. But we need to use it to plan, organize, run a career, raise a family. But we never know when it's going to change. So this great question is so fundamental, it reminds us that what's illusory may change, but it doesn't scare us. So, and it's also, so if I were to ask you, where were you before your mother was born? Yeah. You can ask me the same question, and I will have the same state of mind. There is no answer to that question. And if I ask myself, when I die, where do I go? Yeah, maybe my body will go into the crematorium and then onto my son's mantle in a little jar. Yeah. But this thing that's giving the talk, I have no idea. That's a complete don't know. So, and I don't know when that moment's going to occur. I could have an aneurysm in the next 5 minutes and be out. Or time's up. So no one's life is guaranteed, right? But that doesn't make it any less extraordinary, less valuable, less wonderful. There's still extraordinary things when we're alive that we don't want to miss out on. But we don't know. So that's the great question. And this illusory world that we're navigating, it's illusory. When we grasp it, it becomes delusion. If I don't grasp it, it's just illusion. And illusion's not bad. Illusion is where we're all kind of participating. When we grasp it, then the suffering starts to appear. So a thing like a great question is actually respecting the unknowability of our lives, which causes all creativity to appear. All creative problem solving, all creative action like artists and music and even financiers and bankers and innovation. Once we go, oh, it's all unknowable to a degree, then we have actually opened up some potential that wasn't there. If we can trust it. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, that really helps. Thanks.
Yeah, it was a really good question, actually. There was another hand up. Mike?
Small question. The difference between seeing your karma and achieving your karma.
So Mike's question is the difference between seeing the karma and attaining the karma, or achieving the karma. So I'll give a very personal example. I'm in a board meeting for Dharma Zen Center, and there's some problems with the residents of the Zen Center, and I'm getting really pissed off. If they practiced more, they wouldn't be fighting, is all I can think about. They have the temple rules, why aren't they following them? So that's my karma.
That's seeing it or attaining it?
That's seeing it.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm hot on the inside and it's hard for me to not become Sister Ruth Marie from my Catholic childhood and start beating the hell out of these residents. Yeah, see, that's following my karma, not correct. Yeah, because I grew up in a really extreme Catholic, devout Catholic environment. So there's black and white, right and wrong. Follow the rules, everything's fine. You don't follow the rules, nothing's fine. You know, all those extremes, all polarizing. Not unlike the Middle East. My idea, yeah? This is what's right. So, you know, in that board meeting situation, I see the karma rising up. Don't follow it, just breathe into it. And you don't know, Tim. You're thinking and feeling that, but you don't know it. You're putting a story on top of the residents. You're putting a whole narrative on top of the events that happen. I'm not those people. I don't know what pressures they were experiencing that caused them to have this conflict that has now risen to the board's attention, needing to be cared for. So that's seeing it. Attaining it is, if I act or speak, will it lead to loving kindness? And if I can't answer that question, I keep my mouth shut. That's silence. Then I practice. You know, what is this? Why can't I act or speak with kindness? Why is a little tricky, but just what is this will show me why I can't act and speak with kindness in that board meeting about those residents over this conflagration.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Maybe I misunderstand karma. I always think of it as cause and effect. Cause and effect. So how can you not attain your karma? Aren't you always your karma?
Yes, you always are your karma, except before thinking and feeling arises. This is a great question. How can we not attain our karma? Yes, we're always experiencing our karma. If I have a car accident on the way home, that's my karma. Yeah, so it's the condition we're in, and it's in a constant state of change. However, before thinking and feeling arise, we have a whole reality that is not separate from this universe. So it has no time and space, no cause and effect, and no name and form. So that's what we call the absolute. And the karma, the car crash karma, that's the relative or conditioned truth. So the conditioned truth, this is the Buddha's teaching of two truths. There's a conditioned truth constantly changing. It's illusory, but it's real. Then there's an absolute truth which is not changing, never changing, no time. Those two completely interpenetrate. Where? There. Nowhere else. There again. So now there's a new moment, but still there's a conditioned truth completely interpenetrating with an absolute truth. So in the moment, nothing is separated out. But our minds make past and future, cause and effect, name and form. So now all my karma has appeared. I can follow it and suffer, or I can see it, attain it, and then use it. But I can't do any of that if I'm not practicing. Because otherwise my karma controls me like a train going at about 70 miles an hour. Do you know how long it takes to stop a train? Like sometimes hours. We all have this karmic energy. And it's not just ours. It could be our grandparents, it could be great-great-grandparents, it could be our culture. I have a Persian friend who's suffering a lot right now. But his karma goes back centuries. So does mine. But it's very different from his. But that's just causal. On our true nature, it never touches it. Yeah.
Kind of a funny comment, but interesting that our karma could span centuries, but we can't answer the question, where were we before our great-grandmother was born?
This is a really important question. It's interesting
Very
that
convenient, Tim.
we can't answer where were we before our mother was born, and yet the karmic influences can go back generation after generation after generation. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
But we see the result of when people don't practice. when their karma controls them. My idea, my religion's correct, your religion is wrong. A theocratic state. I mean, it's the heartbreak of this world right now, is that people take a religious view. And this is not new. You know, Christianity ran the Crusades and the Inquisition. They were burning people alive because they didn't believe exactly the right way. And the plan was, well, if you suffer so much while I burn you alive, you'll change your mind and you won't go to hell when you die. You'll go to heaven. I mean, that was the thinking in the Inquisition, just from two different Christian points of view. Christians were burning Christians alive to teach the burning Christian a better view so that when they died, they had eternity in heaven instead of eternity in hell. That's religion. So, this isn't the first time we've slaughtered each other over theology.
Hi, I'm Joe Kai with Long Beach Meditation. Your gracious generosity make these programs possible. If you found this video to be of value, please consider making a donation here. If you'd like to watch more videos like this one, then you can click here. And if you want to stay up to date with Long Beach Meditation, please subscribe by clicking here. Thank you so much.